Let's turn to the real estate market because home price growth is surging at the end of 2020, its fastest pace in 8 years. We want to bring in Tim Rood. He's a SitusAMC's managing director. And Tim, great to speak with you. Again, a record year for the housing market. You and I have talked about this over the past year. Do you see this momentum slowing down anytime soon?
No. Hey, Sean, I don't really. No, this is a gravy train with biscuit wheels, right? No, it's really just supply and demand for the most part. If you think about it, home prices have been appreciating every quarter for 10 years, right? Following really the arc of home interest rates going down. So right now you're looking at, home values are up 20% from 2006 highs, but because interest rates are so low, they're actually 20% more affordable. So it's really fascinating. Demand is, through the roof. And one of the real problems is that's contributing to the home price appreciation is that you've only got 2 months worth of inventory. And this is the first time, I guess, in my professional career where, anxious households are the ones that are driving the housing market as opposed to confident households. People are so anxious that they're going to miss out on the opportunity, that they're going to get locked down again. They'll be stuck in their 600 square foot apartment with their kids and in-laws. They're desperate to get out. So yeah, nothing's going to change for foreseeable future, assuming interest rates don't blow up.
Tim, it's Adam. Good to see you. And I'm glad you brought up the fear of missing out, because now is much different than the build up to the great financial crisis that we had in 2007, 2008. But if people are getting in over their heads with mortgages right now because of bidding wars, you use the term zombie housing market. Why should I fear the walking housing dead?
Yeah. So I don't think I'm going to be Woody Harrelson for Halloween, but it's definitely on my radar in terms of zombies and zombie slayers. Look, so here's one of the challenges right now is, through very magnanimous and reasonable on some level, legislation, you've got borrowers who are now able to skip 15 months worth of payments, and there's no foreclosures, no evictions. Look, this is an unprecedented crisis. This is an unprecedented response. A lot of lessons learned from the housing crisis before that are being applied. This rescue, if you will, for the housing market is far more expedient. It's more effective. It's more wide scale. But the problem is it's a sticky wicket. I don't know how you get out of this. I mean, how do you get these borrowers who haven't made a payment in 15 months to say, hey, look, boy, I think we're on the other side of this thing, barring a COVID-20, a COVID-21, and we're going to need to start you to make your payments again. The problem is, you learn from the last housing crisis, is people get conditioned and they start applying that money. It's like a cash management tool. They're applying it to other bills, to other savings. It's hard to get them to step back in, even pay a reduced mortgage payment. So that contributes to this, default, this opaque sort of market where it's unclear who's making their payments, who's not making their payments, how many, where are they? And you create this swelling shadow inventory, which over time creates a lot of anxiety for investors, whether owner occupants or non-owner occupants, and eventually they pull back.
Tim, there certainly is so much uncertainty, especially when it comes to these moratoriums. But back to who is buying houses right now. We talked about in the beginning of the pandemic that it was mostly driven by millennials. They were anxious to move out of the cities, get their first home. Is that still the case, or have we seen the buyer expand a little bit?
Well, certainly millennials are driving it. That's the tailwind, the demographic sort of tailwind that's pushing this, household creations, and then ultimately, the demand for single family homes. You've got millennials who took their first job. They were living in cities. They wanted walkable amenities, transit-oriented communities, and now they're trapped like rats, and they're trying to figure out how to get out of there. And some green space and neighbors you don't see, sounds really appealing. And if you think about it, so yeah, I do think millennials are driving. They're the lion's share of first-time home buyers. And some of the exodus from the cities to the suburbs, there's a great case study with a colleague of mine. He moved from a studio apartment in Hoboken to a $750,000 5,000 square foot property in Wilmington, Delaware. He can send his kids to public school. He doesn't have to pay for parking, the tax write-off.
He's got to cut the grass. That alone is enough to say, give me in the city.
You could buy you could buy 60 heads of cattle for what he's saving. The bottom line is it's far more affordable relative to renting to have a single family home, barring again some of the concerns around a blown water heater or something like that. But the fundamentals line up really nicely.
Certainly known. A lot of people have made the same decision, the same move as your colleague there. Tim Rood, SitusAMC's managing director. Always great to have you. We'll talk to you again soon. Coming up next here on Yahoo.